In 1961, a physicist named Eugene Wigner proposed an experiment. An experiment so disturbing that most scientists refused to discuss it. The experiment suggested that human consciousness doesn't just observe reality, it creates it, collapses quantum possibilities into actual events, literally brings things into existence by observing them. The physics community called it absurd, impossible, unscientific. But in 2023, researchers at UC Santa Barbara ran the experiment. And Wigner was right. Consciousness creates reality, not metaphorically, literally, at the quantum level. And here's what nobody noticed. Neville Goddard taught this exact principle in 1948, 20 years before quantum physics proved it was possible. He didn't call it quantum mechanics. He called it assumption. But he was describing the same law, the same mechanism, the same truth. Today, we're connecting the dots between quantum physics and Neville's hidden law. This is Hidden Mind Master. And this changes everything. Let's start with the experiment. It's called the double-slit experiment, and it's been baffling physicists for over a century. Here's how it works. You shoot particles, like electrons or photons, through two slits toward a screen. If particles behave like solid objects, you'd expect two lines on the screen, one behind each slit. But that's not what happens. Instead, you get an interference pattern, multiple lines, waves overlapping, as if the particle went through both slits at the same time, as if it existed in multiple places simultaneously, as if reality itself was uncertain until observed. But here's where it gets strange. The moment you observe which slit the particle goes through, the interference pattern disappears. The particle chooses one slit. It behaves like a solid object, as if your observation forced it to pick a reality, to collapse from multiple possibilities into one actual event. This is called the observer effect, and it proves something shocking. Reality at the quantum level is not fixed until someone observes it. Before observation, particles exist in superposition, in all possible states at once. Your observation collapses the wave function, forces reality to choose, to become solid, to manifest. Now, here's what Neville Goddard taught in 1948. He said, assume the feeling of your wish fulfilled, not as something you're trying to create, as something that already exists. Because in imagination, all states exist simultaneously. Your assumption collapses infinite possibilities into one actual experience. Your consciousness doesn't attract reality. It selects reality. It chooses which of infinite possibilities you will experience. Do you see the connection? Quantum physics says, particles exist in superposition until observed. Then they collapse into one reality. Neville says, all states exist now in imagination. Your assumption collapses them into your experience. Same law, same mechanism. Neville called it assumption. Physics calls it observation. But they're describing the same thing. Consciousness doesn't just perceive reality. It creates reality by choosing which possibility becomes actual. Let me show you the 3 quantum laws that prove Neville was right. Law 1. Superposition. In quantum mechanics, particles exist in all possible states simultaneously until observed. An electron is simultaneously here and there, moving and still, existing and not existing, all at once, until you measure it. Then it chooses. Neville taught the exact same thing. He said, all states exist now. You are simultaneously rich and poor, healthy and sick, loved and alone. All states exist in consciousness. What determines which state you experience? Your assumption. Your dominant state of consciousness. Your inner conviction about which reality is yours. When you assume a state, you collapse all other possibilities. You choose which quantum reality becomes your experience. This is not metaphor. This is mechanics. Law 2. The observer effect. In quantum physics, the act of observation changes what is being observed. Before observation, a particle is a wave of probability. After observation, it's a fixed point in space and time. The observer doesn't just see reality. The observer creates reality by observing. Neville taught this in 1948. He said, "You don't observe the world as it is. You observe the world as you are." Your state of consciousness determines what you see, what you experience, what becomes real for you. Two people can look at the same event and see completely different realities. Not because they're interpreting differently, because they're collapsing different quantum possibilities. Their consciousness, their assumption, their inner state is selecting which version of reality they experience. The observer doesn't just watch. The observer collapses. The observer creates. Law 3. Quantum entanglement. When two particles become entangled, they remain connected regardless of distance. Change one and the other changes instantly, even if they're on opposite sides of the universe. Einstein called it spooky action at a distance. But it's real, proven, measurable. And here's what it means for consciousness. Everything is connected. Every particle, every person, every event. At the quantum level, separation is an illusion. We're all part of one interconnected field. One unified consciousness. Neville taught this as, everyone is you pushed out. The people in your reality are not separate from you. They're reflections of your consciousness, your assumptions about them. When you change your inner state, they change. Not because you're controlling them, because at the quantum level, you and they are entangled, part of the same unified field. Change your consciousness, and the field responds, everywhere, instantly. This is quantum entanglement applied to human experience. Now here's why scientists refuse to acknowledge this connection. Because it destroys materialism. For 400 years, science has been built on one assumption. Matter is primary. Consciousness is secondary. The brain creates consciousness. The physical world exists independently of observation. Quantum physics shatters that assumption. It proves consciousness is not a byproduct of matter. Consciousness is fundamental. Matter is the byproduct. Particles don't become real until consciousness observes them. Without consciousness, there's only probability waves, potential, no actual reality. This means consciousness precedes matter. Consciousness creates matter, not the other way around. And most scientists can't accept that, because it means everything they've built their careers on is backwards. So they ignore it. They call it the measurement problem. They create elaborate interpretations to avoid the obvious conclusion. That consciousness is the ground of reality. That observation creates existence. That Neville was right. But a few physicists have been brave enough to say it. Eugene Wigner said, "Consciousness must be included in any complete description of reality." John Wheeler said, "The universe doesn't exist until someone observes it." We live in a participatory universe. Max Planck, the father of quantum theory, said, I regard consciousness as fundamental. Matter is derivative from consciousness. They understood what the quantum equations were showing. That reality is not solid, not fixed, not independent of consciousness. Reality is fluid, probabilistic, and consciousness is what gives it form, what makes it actual, what chooses which possibility becomes experience. Neville understood this in 1948, without equations, without experiments, just through direct inner experience, through testing assumption in his own life, and discovering that consciousness creates reality, not in some mystical way, in a measurable, repeatable, mechanical way, the way quantum physics would later prove. So how do you apply this? How do you use quantum physics and Neville's law together? Here's the method. Step 1. Understand that your current reality is one collapsed possibility, not the only reality. One reality, out of infinite possibilities that exist in the quantum field. Right now, there's a version of reality where you're wealthy, one where you're healthy, one where you're deeply loved. They all exist simultaneously. In superposition, in the quantum field of infinite possibilities. Your current experience is just the one you've been observing, the one your consciousness has been collapsing into form, through your dominant assumptions, through your habitual state of being. Step 2. Choose a new possibility, not something you're trying to create, something that already exists in the quantum field, a state that's already real in the realm of infinite possibilities. You're not manifesting it, you're selecting it. You're choosing to collapse a different possibility, to observe a different quantum reality. This is what Neville meant by assume the state. You're not hoping it will exist. You're recognizing it already exists, and you're choosing to observe that possibility instead of your current one. Step 3. Become the observer of the new possibility. In quantum physics, observation collapses possibility into actuality. In Neville's terms, assumption does the same thing. You must observe the new reality consistently, through imagination, through feeling, through assuming it's already real. Not once, repeatedly, persistently, until your consciousness fully collapses that possibility into your experience. This is why Neville taught, persist in the assumption, because you're training your consciousness to observe a different quantum reality, to collapse a different possibility. And the more you observe it, the more solid it becomes, the more it manifests in your physical experience. Step 4. Ignore contradictory observations. This is critical. Your senses will show you your old reality, your old collapsed possibility. If you observe that, you reinforce it. You keep collapsing the old quantum state. Instead, you must train your consciousness to observe the new possibility, even when your senses show you the old one. This is what Neville meant by live in the end. You're not waiting for it to happen. You're observing the reality where it already happened. You're collapsing that quantum possibility through persistent observation, through persistent assumption, and gradually your physical senses will catch up, will begin to show you what your consciousness has been observing. Step 5. Understand the lag. In quantum physics, there's something called decoherence. It's the process by which quantum possibilities become classical realities. It takes time. Your consciousness can collapse a new possibility instantly at the quantum level. But for that to propagate through the entire system, to become your physical reality, requires time. Neville called this the Sabbath, the bridge of incidents. the interval between assuming and experiencing. But it's really quantum decoherence. The time it takes for your inner observation to become your outer experience. For the quantum possibility, you've collapsed in consciousness to manifest in matter. Don't lose faith during the lag. The quantum state has already changed. Your physical reality is catching up. Now let me show you the experiment that proves this is real. In 2019, researchers at the University of Vienna demonstrated quantum erasure. They showed that you can change the past, literally, not metaphorically. If you observe a particle after it's already passed through the slits, you can retroactively determine which path it took. You can change what already happened by choosing what to observe now. This proves time is not fixed. The past is not unchangeable. Reality is fluid, malleable, subject to consciousness. And Neville taught this as revision. He said, you can go back and change the past, not in your memory, in actuality. By assuming a different past happened, you collapse a different timeline, a different quantum history, and your present changes accordingly. The Vienna experiment proves this is possible. That consciousness can affect past events. That reality is not a fixed timeline, it's a probability field. And consciousness chooses which probabilities become real, past, present, or future. Here's the implication nobody wants to accept. If quantum physics is right, and Neville is right, then there is no objective reality. None. What you experience is not the reality. It's your reality, your unique collapse of infinite quantum possibilities, based on your consciousness, your assumptions, your observations. Someone else can be experiencing a completely different reality, not because they're interpreting differently, because they're literally observing and therefore creating a different quantum state. This explains why two people can live in the same house and have completely different experiences. Why one person sees opportunity everywhere while another sees obstacles. They're not seeing the same reality differently. They're collapsing different quantum realities entirely, based on their consciousness. And this is why you cannot change your reality by changing your circumstances, because circumstances are the effect, not the cause. The cause is your consciousness, your observation, your assumption. Change your consciousness, and you collapse a different quantum reality, where different circumstances exist, automatically, inevitably. Let me give you the practical technique that combines quantum physics and Neville. It's called quantum assumption. Here's how it works. Close your eyes. Imagine the quantum field, an infinite ocean of possibilities. All versions of your life existing simultaneously. Now, see the reality you desire, not as something you're trying to create, as one specific wave in the quantum ocean, one possibility that already exists. Now, collapse that wave through observation, through feeling, through assumption. See it becoming solid, becoming real, becoming your reality. Feel yourself in that reality, not hoping for it, experiencing it, as if the quantum wave has already collapsed, as if that possibility is now your actuality. Hold that observation, that assumption, that feeling, then open your eyes and carry that collapsed state with you. You're not waiting for it to happen. You've already observed it at the quantum level. Now you're just waiting for decoherence, for the physical world to catch up to what your consciousness has already created. Here's the quantum equation that explains Neville. Psi equals the sum of all possibilities. Consciousness collapses psi into one reality. Your assumption is your consciousness. Your experience is the collapsed reality. Change your assumption. Change what you collapse. Change your consciousness. Change your reality. This is not mysticism. This is quantum mechanics. Proven, measured, confirmed. And Neville understood it intuitively. Before the experiments were done, before the equations were written, he understood that consciousness is the observer, that reality is the observed. That observation creates actuality. This is the hidden law. The law quantum physics just confirmed. The law nobody noticed. Until now. So here's the truth. You're not living in a fixed reality. You're living in a probability field. Infinite versions of your life exist simultaneously, right now, in superposition, in the quantum field. Your consciousness is the observer. Your assumption is the observation. An observation collapses possibility into actuality. You're not a victim of circumstances. You're the creator of circumstances. Through your observation, through your assumption, through your consciousness. Quantum physics proves it. Neville taught it, and now you know it. The only question is, what reality will you observe? What possibility will you collapse? What quantum state will you assume? Because that's what you'll experience. Not someday. Now, at the quantum level. And soon, in your physical reality. This is Hidden Mind Master, where quantum physics meets ancient wisdom, where science confirms what the masters already knew. Subscribe for more hidden laws revealed. Your quantum reality is waiting. Choose wisely.